Okay. We should be live, which is excellent. So if you're in the chat and you could possibly say yay or nay if the audio is good, I'm speaking some words. Therefore, you should be able to hear the words coming out of my mouth. Now, Tyler, you say some words.
This is me speaking. Hopefully you can hear me. I'm running on no sleep, so don't leave me up too much.
Ben says the audio is good. River says yay. Excellent.
Loud and clear.
Yeah.
I have got to get like it's not even in the right place, like where I can easily a lot of cropping.
Yeah, but the blue or green screen won't work all that well if you can see the wall behind you, right?
Yeah, and also I need to go get need to go ahead and get it down, and I've got some art put up probably next.
I've been working on my background a little bit too. I got some new artwork here. I'm going to be putting up some tiles again. Although I've been thinking about a couple shelves as well, but I don't know if they'd appear if I put them above the artwork that I hung up. I don't know if the shelves would actually show up on camera or not. I'd have to test. But my audio seems to be a little bit loud compared to Tyler, probably because I've added more gain to mine. Also, because Tyler's, he tends to be away from the mic a little bit.
Yeah, I
tend to eat
away.
I tend to eat the mic, so
yeah.
Just because I know this Kyle doesn't like. So can I join this guest as an episode? Can I join as a
I know immediately what Matt's thought is. The transforms. No.
You gotta give me more notice, Josh.
I'd have to redo everything.
Fucking OBS just prevents guests. I'm sorry, man. Everything, I have things set just the way they need to be for two people. Adding a third just sounds like horrible things. God, transforms in OBS are so bad.
Yeah. So yeah, apparently I am low, which is not surprising. This mic does seem to be a little low, but good quality. Like that seems to be its only problem. Is like it's just quiet.
Yeah, that's just the nature of those kind of mics. I have a pod mic here for you. It's in the box. All I have to do is add tape and send it out. It's sitting like right beside me in an Amazon box, so it's gonna be like you're getting an Amazon shipment.
I'm getting too much new shit all at once. It's awesome.
So everyone's saying Tyler is low.
1 to 10, how stoned is Tyler?
Given the topic before we hit the, and I'm gonna start singing that damn song again.
I really do wish I was very stoned. I mean, I did have a weed gummy last night / morning. I probably had it like 1 in the morning or something like that. But no, it's just no sleep. I couldn't fall asleep because I had to be somewhere at 7 o'clock in the morning. And well, I've been working around in Unity in preparation for the Steam Deck. I'm working on a project and fun.
All right, so someone said that your audio was intermittent. Has it been fixed now? Because I added a little bit more gain. Yays or nays in the chat if it's a little bit better.
And I turned off the automatic input sensitivity thing. So I should theoretically be better.
We got really loud there for me. I don't know if that will go through the stream or not. We'll see. Just as long as he's not blowing out, I guess is okay. Tyler has a permanent natural stone state. You just look like a hippie. That's what they're trying to say.
Yeah.
All you need is some tie-dye jeans and maybe grow the hair out a little bit, and you got the 70s stoner look.
I could probably rock it, you know?
All right, let's see here. Okay, I think we're going to go ahead and get started. It's a little earlier than I had planned, but that's good. Like I said, I have to be done in an hour and 15 minutes. So
I think we can make it through this one fast.
We'll see. I mean, it's never happened before. We'll see.
Oh, we can do it. We can do it.
Okay, let's go ahead and get going. You got Audacity up and ready to go? Everything set?
You know, it's funny that you asked that, because that is something that I hadn't even given a thought to. Audacity as a thing.
No. What Zany needs is a Dead Milkman shirt. What he need?
Wait, Dead Milkman? What's up?
Dead Milkman? You never heard of? Oh man, you got
Nope.
those guys up. Band from the 70s and 80s, I think. They have one. God, what the
Audacity. Okay, come on. Up and running.
The Dead Milkmen have a song called "Let's Go Smoke Some Pot."
Oh,
it's a good song. Very funny. They have some other good ones too. They have one about a Cadillac and yeah.
Oh, I'm sold. I'm sold.
Good stuff.
They sing about weed and Cadillacs.
Yeah, a lot. All their songs have that kind of stuff going on for them. Yeah. I wonder if there's anybody in the chat who's ever actually listened to a Dead Milkmen song.
I don't know. That'd be a good poll to put out on the channel. Like, probably get an interesting response. But I do have Audacity up and ready.
Okay. I'm putting the poll out.
Oh, perfect. Perfect.
It's in the chat. Okay.
Dang, that is crushing. 87% no.
Well, y'all should go listen to it. It's good. Never. They are a very niche band. Obviously, with a name like Dead Milkman, they did not go platinum.
So, on the next podcast, there's going to be either one of two reactions. There's going to be a whole bunch of people that come back and be like, okay, thank you. You put me onto a fantastic band. Or there's going to be like, why'd you force me to go and listen to these people? One of those two reactions. I'm interested to see how big of a reaction and which one it is. I'd like to see that.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because somebody asked how old you have to be in order to know the reference. Probably pretty old. I'm just saying. Okay, let's go ahead and do this. Hey everybody, welcome back to
Smooth.
He's that was horrible.
Yeah,
that was the worst start to a podcast I've ever heard in my life.
The stoned one.
Yeah, God. Yeah. All right, I'm ready to go. Hey everybody, welcome back to Linux Cast. I'm your host Matt,
and I'm Tyler.
Yes, he is Tyler. This is the Linux Cast. We talk about Linuxy things most of the time. If you watch this live, first of all, I apologize for that false start. It was a really bad false start. There was The words were just not coming for whatever reason. They were not there. But anyways, if you watch this live, we record this live every Friday around this time, which is 3 o'clock, 3:30 p.m. Eastern time. If you watch after the fact, there are going to be timestamps. I like to mention this, but last week I mentioned it before we started, like the official podcast. So I just wanted to announce that this time. The timestamps usually appear around 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern time. So if you want to watch it after the fact, it's probably best to do it then, because then you can skip past the talk of all the pre-show that we usually do. So if you want to do that, obviously. So anyways, the Linux cast, talk about Linuxy things today. We're going to be talking about Arch and Arch-based distros when we get to the main topic. But first, Tyler, what have you been doing in the world of FOSS?
A lot. I've started a project for a survival game, small survival game, nothing really too special, but particularly for the Steam Deck to take advantage of like how many different controls it has. Got a Steam Deck, actually got it. I did unbox it live. It's not like it was a great unboxing or anything. I just used my Brio webcam and then just opened it and started playing with it. And I also tried to be extremely clever and install pretty much as many games as I could to a 256 gig micro SD card that I plugged into my mom's Ubuntu laptop and formatted to be the same that it would format to on the Steam Deck, like ext4, and try it. It didn't work. But nonetheless, I've been playing with the Steam Deck. It's fantastic. It's really good. Day one, like I just got it earlier today, and it's so good. It's great. So yeah, that's pretty much what I've been up to. Just Steam Deck.
Okay, so I have some good news and I have some bad news. The good news is I'm prepared to tell you what I've done in FOSS this week. The bad news is you're gonna have to tell me that all over again because I forgot to hit the record button.
Dude, you want to know what's funny? You want to know what's real funny? I did too. I did too. It's both of us.
We got started. I didn't hit the record button in Audacity. I didn't hit the record button in OBS. We didn't do the claps, by the way. You think we would have noticed?
Dude, how? Dude, and I just want to go ahead and say too, I was very proud of us because like we were making it through pretty fast. We normally take a long time talking about stuff. I made it through all that I was doing. I've been really excited about the Steam Deck pretty fast. Yeah, all that progress. Nope, gone.
Matt needs to leave early, so this is the week that the good news is that I noticed it before we got to like 90% of the way through the time.
Yeah.
I mean, it would have been a big deal because I could have just pulled the YouTube video down and edited it from there, but it wouldn't have been quite as good because all that compression shit. But still, at least I noticed it this time. So, okay, so I'm going to hit the record button in Audacity. I'm going to hit the record button in OBS. We got to make sure I say this stuff out loud from now on. Can you do, you can do the claps whenever you like.
All right. 3, 2, 1.
Good enough. Good Lord.
Yeah.
So everyone in the chat, you guys are just going to have to act surprised when we start this podcast now for the third time.
Yeah.
Is this the first episode or are you that amateur? Hey, you want to know what? We've been going since 2017. That's the first time I've forgotten to hit the record button. So I don't want to hear any of your guff in the chat room. All right, let's get started again.
Well, hold on. I do just want to go ahead and say that you do always have a valid argument with you've been, shoehorned with a guest that has no sleep. So you can always just shovel the blame over on me. I'll take it. It's okay.
I can't blame you for not hitting the record button when I didn't either. It's my job. All right. Hey everybody, welcome back to Linux Cast. I'm your host, Matt.
And I'm Tyler.
Well, at least after the third try, you knew your name for sure. Because if you've watched this live, you'll know that this is the third attempt at actually starting the podcast. The first time, words didn't happen. Second time, I didn't hit the record button. So we are recording this time, which is good. So, anyways, the podcast this is the Linux cast. We talk about Linuxy things. And before we jump into the stuff that we normally talk about, I just want to say, if you watch this live, first of all, usually we're way more, well, I was going to say we're way more organized than this, but that's not true. Normally, at least, we don't fail as often as we have today. Usually, the start is fairly good. It usually goes off the rails afterwards. Anyways, if you want to watch us live, we record this every Friday around 3:00 p.m. Eastern time. Just so you know that this week is abnormal. It's about 40 minutes after that, so it's not been a good week for being on target. Anyways, the timestamps, if you want to watch this afterwards on YouTube, will be in the video description along the scrub bar, but those don't usually appear until around 8:00 p.m. Eastern time. So, Tyler, what have you been doing this week in FOSS? It's almost as if I've heard it before.
Oh, yeah. Well, I've gotten the Steam Deck. It's fantastic. I tried being clever and putting a whole bunch of games ahead of time from a Linux computer onto an micro SD card. It didn't work, but that's okay because the Steam Deck is it's a freaking awesome piece of hardware. And I've also been working in the Unity game engine here recently. And I've had to move to Windows 11 just for stability on the in editor. There's some features that I want to take advantage of that are kind of they do require the latest version, and it seems to crash a lot on Linux Mint, which I've been loving Linux Mint. Like it's so nice. So yeah, just because of crashing, I've been using Windows.
So do you have Linux Mint still installed somewhere, or are you?
Yeah. It's on my second drive, and for like testing just the Linux build just to make it faster, I've just been like using an extra drive to just go between the two drives, and I can easily just move my project or build a Linux binary and move the binary between the drives and play it and test it out. So it's been really nice. It's not a fault of Linux or anything that Unity is not focused on it, but it is kind of annoying that I don't have the ability to actually just go ahead and fully develop the game on Linux. But it's all right. It's a minor gripe.
Well, normally I give you crap about running Windows, but as long as you still have Linux installed somewhere, and I have bets in place for when you hop away from Mint, so I'm not sure if this counts or not.
The insane part is I'm building the game and making the game particularly with the Steam Deck in mind. Like, obviously you'll be able to play it anywhere, but the main target platform is the Steam Deck, which is a Linux device. So I'm having to use Windows to develop a game for Linux.
What I'm surprised at is that Valve hasn't come along and done their own game engine. I'm surprised they haven't. I mean, especially when they consider Epic to be their biggest competitor. The fact that they have no competitor for game engine is kind of surprising. Now, granted, Valve is a very small company.
Technically, they do have the source engine, but it's not really as fleshed out as something like Unity or Unreal. Like, I know there's going to be a whole bunch of people screaming Godot in chat. Like, yes, Godot is a good game engine, but it's not what you would choose to make like a production, like a full-fledged project in, most likely. Unless it's just a simple 2D game, you're probably going to choose something like a different game engine.
Yeah. Okay, so my week in Linux has been interesting. So I've been kind of playing around with a few video ideas, and one of them is about troubleshooting problems. So I've been learning about logging in Linux, so that's been kind of interesting because I never really got into that kind of stuff before with logging and stuff like that. But when I was having those problems a few weeks ago with Arch, some of the stuff that I did to troubleshoot that was look at some of the logs. So I've been working on a video about that kind of stuff. And also, because this is now the Windows cast, I installed Windows twice this week. So my mother's laptop crapped the bed. Like it was like would not run. So, and we couldn't fix it. So she had to order a new one, but in the meantime, she had to use my laptop, which of course my laptop had Linux on it. So first I just handed her my laptop. It had KDE, I think it was the KDE version of MX Linux. And I handed it to her, and she hates Linux with a passion. By the way, she just can't stand it. She's just not into change.
I don't get it. KDE is so similar to Windows.
Right. She's very, very attached to her way of doing things. And if you change just the littlest thing, like, so she uses the snipping tool in Windows. It's the screenshot tool, right? And recently, Microsoft redid the snipping tool. It changed almost. I mean, it's a big change. The amount of talking I had to hear about that change was insane, because she just doesn't like change, which is fine. That's just the way things go. So, anyways, because she can use the KDE Plasma version, I had to install Windows 11. Now, the laptop I had her on was a really old one, and that one did not have TPM or a secure boot or anything like that. It was like a really old laptop. I did get it to run, but it ran like utter garbage, like so bad. Like we would open up you press the start menu, and like 5 minutes later, the start menu would come up. It was really bad. So I re-downloaded the Windows 10 ISO and put Windows 10 in there because I knew Windows 10 would run, and Windows 10 is what was on there for a while, and then luckily she got a new one. But yeah, so I ended up installing Windows twice this week, and every second of it reminded me of why I love Linux so much. Like just the installation of Windows just makes me so. When you install Linux, no matter what distro you've chosen, no matter what desktop environment or window manager you're going to end up with at the end, with software or whatever, the process of installing Linux, just for me at least, is kind of a joy. Like it feels, it's interesting. Maybe even if you come across problems or something like that, troubleshooting it is kind of fun, right? With Windows, it feels like so much of a chore. Maybe it's just because I hate. It's definitely because I hate Windows so much.
Yeah. It's just because you hate Windows. Because it's really dumbed down. Like their installer.
Oh, it's not. I just never said it was hard. I just said
I know.
It feels like a chore.
There is nothing about it that it's a 100% monotonous process. Like not only have you done it before, you've seen other people do it. Like since you were a kid. Like the window. Like if you've done a Windows update in the past, then you probably know how a Windows install goes too. The few extra button presses.
When her new computer came, and I got on there to put all of her stuff back on there and make sure she had Chrome and all this stuff, right? The amount of junkware on that new Dell that she bought is just, it's flabbergasting how much shit they put on that computer.
That's different, because that's from those people. Because Windows comes with some TikTok, Facebook, and all
Candy
that
Crush and stuff. Yeah.
Luckily, they don't come with Candy Crush anymore, unless you get a older build of Windows 10. But
I didn't even look. I just assumed that it was still there.
No, thank God it's not. They finally stopped doing that stuff. Well, not that stuff. It's just
Candy Crush.
I really don't like Candy Crush, so I'm glad they stopped that. But yeah, they don't really package nearly as much, and it's only installed to your
I'm gonna have to fire you right now because you're defending Windows.
No, I'm not defending Windows. I'm just saying they've gotten better about how they do that stuff. But then to because what I was talking about is like the manufacturers throw all that extra stuff on there where it's like where you've got like 30 or 40 programs installed. Like they do all of that with their own proprietary stuff, and I don't get it because it's insane and really really nerve-wracking for me to see it. And my grandmother and like I know some other people who like miss having all of the Dell like printer apps and color apps and like all of the stuff from the manufacturer.
Like, Dell puts like
What?
12 different applications on your thing. And, that the thing is it wouldn't be so bad if they were on there and you just never saw them. But the thing is, every single one of them is running in the background. They all spawn at startup.
They all have like big notifications.
Yeah,
not like
big notifications.
Not like Steam notifications where you can definitely see them, but they're just down there in the corner. Like, no, they're the ones that like pop up from the bottom. Like you've been infected with level 6 malware. Like,
okay. Also,
what's level 6?
If you ever, okay, and I'm talking to not just you, but to everybody in the chat room. If you ever subscribe to McAfee, I'm banning you from my channel. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, also, if you subscribe to McAfee, you've definitely gotten viruses.
Because McAfee is the virus, okay?
It is.
It's so bad. Even if you uninstall it, it doesn't go away. It's like a freaking cockroach. You can't kill it. It's horrible. Not that there's, I mean,
like a cockroach.
Like, there's not a single virus program out there that's very good, but at least Windows Defender doesn't, bash you over the head with itself every day. Every other one does, and it's just not good. Anyways, welcome to the Windows Cast. I'm your host, Matt. Yes. Anyway, we apologize for the Windows talk, but we had to bitch about it I had to bitch about it for a little while. Anyway, so moving on to the contact information, because we do need to move this right along. You can contact us in any number of ways. The easiest way is probably email at thelinuxcast.org. If you want to follow us on Twitter, Mastodon, Odyssey, any of those things, those links will be at the linuxcast.org/contact. All that stuff is there for you to see and click on and all that stuff. If you want to find out who our patrons are, who supports the channel, you can find those at thelinuxcast.org/patrons. And you'll be happy to know that I made those pages all by myself. Like, seriously, I had no clue how to make an 11 page because that was set up for me, but I figured it out all on my own. I was very, very happy about that. I felt very accomplished. So those pages now actually exist, which they didn't actually exist last week. So you can find out more about the podcast. You can see past episodes, all my blog posts. You can find those at thelinuxcast.org. Tyler, who goes by Zany Online, has a YouTube channel. That is youtube.com/ZanyOG. He does live streams and Linux videos and OpenBSD and basically whatever he wants on his channel, which is awesome. He's getting close to 3,000 subscribers. So if you haven't subscribed, head on over there and do that. He also has a store and Discord and all the stuff you'd normally find a YouTuber to have. So you can find those links at thelinuxcast.org/contact. And obviously subscribe to the Linux Cast on YouTube. I post Linux content every single day of the week. Usually I'm much more, I'm able to enunciate words a little bit better than I am today, apparently. But anyways, subscribe, youtube.com/LinuxCast. Getting close to 20,000 subscribers still blows my freaking mind. Anyways, thanks. If you have subscribed, thank you. So moving on to the news of the week. So every week, Tyler and I, we scour the internet. And this week, at least, the links will be fairly new. I mean, normally we call it breaking news, but last week the links were like 3 weeks old, but this time the links are new. So, Tyler, your news of the week, what you got?
Oh, mine. I'm so glad you asked. Mine's fantastic. Mine is that there's a new game coming out. It's a Kickstarter game, which I'm not normally too into, but this one is inspired by Hollow Knight, and the developers are kind of cool. Like they seem like just pretty cool people. So, if you were a big fan of Hollow Knight, then you're definitely gonna like this. And it's like already talking about Linux support. Like it's like they're doing fundraising and they're already talking about Linux support. So, if you want a good Linux game, here it is. I don't know if it'll be on like what platforms, like whether you'll be able to get it on Steam and
Well, it already has a
GOG
Steam
or whatever.
page, but I don't know if that means anything.
Yeah, like well, I mean, I would assume you're going to be able to get it on Steam, but I don't know if you'll be able to get it on other platforms like Itch and stuff like that. So yeah, but it's something to keep your eyes on. Interesting.
Okay. It looks cool. All right. So my news of the week this week is I'm going the hardware route, and Pine64 has announced that they're going to be creating some wireless earbuds. I'm not sure. This doesn't really have anything to do with Linux because I doubt they're very much running it definitely has Gen 2 on it, just for Josh. You can imagine they've compiled the kernel on their earbuds.
Yeah. It only took them 3 months. That's why shipping takes so long.
They got to do each one individually because there's obviously. I mean, they wrote a script, but that doesn't really dilute the time that takes to compile.
No.
Anyways, the wireless earbuds, they look pretty good. I worry a little bit about quality because Pine64 does sometimes, like, they ship screens with dead pixels and stuff like that all the time, and just like, this is normal. But hopefully that's not the case here. Like I said, they look really nice, and because it's Pine64, they'll be cheap, so I'll probably buy these because I need a new pair of earbuds. The ones that I have are like $12 pieces of crap from Amazon. And it'd be nice to support Pine64 this time. So, like I said, they look really nice.
Yeah, I'm going to need something to replace my AirPods here before too long. And those do look pretty good.
Yeah. I wonder if they'll do some, like, software, like, magic or whatever. Because, like, when you get, like, if you have an iPhone and you have AirPods or whatever, and you open up the lid, they automatically connect. That'd be cool if something like that would happen. If they, I mean, you'd have to have some kind of tool on the desktop or on the phone in order for that to work. But it'd be cool if something like that would exist. That'd be cool.
It'd also be nice if these don't end up being like a premium product where you got to spend like $200 to get them. Like, it'd be nice if they're more on the not budget, like where they're like 30 to $60. Like, I mean, I'd be down with like $100. Like,
yeah, I'd pay 100. I was planning on paying $250 for some AirPods Pro when I was running an iPhone. I'm glad I did. I'm glad I didn't because I ended up switching back to Android. But I'm in definite need of some like earpods, AirPods, some wireless earbuds. What's the words I was looking for? Because I have some Sony MX4 1000s or whatever the hell they're called, and they sound really nice, but they don't remember settings. So they have a setting on there where if you start talking, it turns the music off. And I guess if you're in a position where you want to talk to other people, that'd be a good thing. But I don't talk to other people. But I'm a singer. I can't sing worth a damn, but I like singing along with my music. So every time I'm there, I'm just singing because I got high, because the damn thing stops playing, That was an Afro Man thing that I still got stuck in my damn head. Damn it.
There's nothing like some old Afro Man. Come on now.
It's good stuff. Anyways, that is the news. So, every week, Tyler, we come up with a main topic. Usually it's a question or something like that. But this week, we're going to be talking about we're going to decide which is better, Arch or an Arch-based distro. And, hold on a second. Frederick, I know you can turn that off, and you just do it by holding the ear cup on those headphones, but it doesn't remember it. And even if you get into the settings in their application or whatever, I mean, I totally got derailed because of the damn chat thing. But if you turn that setting off in the app, it still doesn't remember it. I don't know why. That's not an iOS or Android thing because I tried it on both. It still doesn't work. So that's just the crappy headphones that cost $350. Seriously, freaking expensive. Anyways, Tyler. Arch or Arch-based distros, which do you think is better and why?
Just mainline Arch.
Okay. I mean, is that all you have to say, or?
I mean, you only use something else because it's easier. Like, not better. It's just, it's someone's set up. It's someone's configured Arch for you. So, just depends. Do you want your own configured Arch, or do you want someone else's configured Arch?
The reason why I chose this topic is because now with Arch install, is there still a reason for you to use an Arch-based distro? Because when you do an Arch, you do Arch install with the vanilla Arch ISO, you get a desktop that is set up for you. You get all of the stuff that you would have to install, manually if you were to, go through the traditional Arch process, and it's all done in a, it's a TUI, but it's basically a installer for Arch. So the biggest thing so like Endeavor and Arco, the biggest things the reason why they were created was to make Arch Linux easier to install. But now Arch isn't hard to install. Not that it was ever really hard, but now it's way, way easier.
No.
Do you think is there still a good reason for Arch-based distros to exist?
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna have to pause this, and we're gonna have to.
Well, like it depends. Like, yes, there is definitely a reason for Arch-based distros to exist. Like, it's just a pre-configured setup, and obviously there's plenty of different ways you can set up Arch. Probably hundreds of thousands of different ways that you could set up Arch. So some ways are going to appeal more to others, and probably people are going to want an easier setup for Arch. So yeah, I think there's a reason for them to exist. Now, is there better and worse options like Manjaro, and then anything else being better? There's plenty of different options for stuff that's better or worse. Just in general, I just like shitting on Manjaro.
Okay,
yeah, I've had bad experiences.
Let's talk about Manjaro, because Manjaro was the original, the OG Arch-based distro. It was the one that everyone was supposed to use. If you couldn't install Arch because either you didn't know what you're doing, or you were just lazy, or whatever the reason happened to be, Manjaro was the thing.
Real simple. Manjaro is the girl in high school that was really pretty, really hot, and you had an insane crush on. And then as soon as she got out of high school, got a pretty serious drug habit. That is Manjaro. Used to be awesome, used to be really hot, used to be really appealing, then got a serious drug problem, and is now meh.
And Josh, we know that Manjaro wasn't the first Arch fork. It was the first one that got popular, though. At least the first one that I was around for to get popular. But anyways, the point is that, Manjaro. You say that Manjaro, kind of got bad. I don't even know if that it got bad. It's not Arch anymore. They've done so much to it, diluted it so much from the original. They've taken all the repositories, delayed them so much, and made them basically their own. They don't have the Arch repositories themselves unless that you switch to the testing branch. It's not Arch anymore. Yes, it uses Pac-Man, but it's not Arch anymore.
Well, it's like it is Arch, but it isn't Arch, because I don't know, some straight up, like, honest to God, if you're using Manjaro, there are some Arch guides that won't work. Like there are, because
Well,
it is.
and if
it
you
is
use the
different.
AUR, because the packages in their main repository are so far behind, a lot of the things in the AUR require newer packages. So a lot of the stuff, not a lot of stuff, but some of the stuff in the AUR just won't work because it's looking for packages that aren't ready yet in the Manjaro repos.
No.
That's why it's
And
not
they
Arch.
hold back they hold back they hold back packages, and then still somehow end up having breakages that Arch isn't experiencing.
Yeah.
Which I just like. I mean, good God.
They
Like,
rely on PAMAX so much to do their updating, not only in the terminal and stuff like that, but also with their GUI front end. That thing's had problems a lot over the years, right? And they just seem to have constant issues. Plus, they've always come across as supremely shady. You know what I mean?
yeah, that's kind of what I mean by like got a serious drug habit, and like what I'm talking about. Like it, Manjaro used to be really appealing, have a very stable environment for you to work in, and then now they've just gone and like they've had some scandals, some shady shit going on. They're not nearly as great of a community as they used to be. Not saying that they're bad, like the community around Manjaro is bad, but it's not nearly as great as it used to be.
Well, I think part of it is that the developers treat their community not so great, and that makes it harder to be part of that community. Now, there's some people that are diehard Manjaro guys, but
Oh yeah. Well, and see, here's the thing too. You can install Manjaro and not have any problems, and it stay like that for a long time.
mhm.
And like that's like I'm not invalidating that. I'm just saying that's not a very common.
Yeah,
Like
well, I mean, and it doesn't feel like common. I mean, maybe it is common. We just don't hear about it from people. But
from everything that I hear, and from everybody that surrounds me, it's not common. Manjaro is a very unstable and unreliable experience for most people that I know. So
yeah, it's been a while since I've used Manjaro, but from the time that I used it about 6 months ago or so, the experience wasn't as great as it used to be. So, but maybe it's because I have a feeling that if you start out on Manjaro, you're gonna like Manjaro. If you have used Vanilla Arch in the past and then you move to Manjaro, it feels sluggish because not necessarily like using it sluggish, but like the packages are so far behind, it makes you feel like you're behind. It kind of removes the feeling that you get when you use Arch, that you're on the bleeding edge. When you're, you know, using Arch, you have this, you know, you're using all the latest packages. You get all, like when the newest Thunderbird comes out, you get all the new features. When the newest Firefox or whatever. With Manjaro, things are always so far behind. So you don't get I mean, one of the prime reasons why you would use Arch, one of the reasons at least, is that it's got all the most recent packages. You get the kernels just a few days after they're released. You know, you get all this stuff. And with Manjaro, you don't. It's at least 2 weeks behind, sometimes longer, and it just takes that one reason to use Arch away. So that's why the reason why I say Manjaro is not really Arch. But there are other Arch-based distros that use Arch-based repository stuff. So like Arco has a whole bunch of Arco repositories, but they also include the standard Arch repos. Same with Endeavor, they have their own repos as well, but they also use the Arch stuff. Garuda, same thing. So those are actually Arch, but they've taken it to another level by doing something unique. So like Arco has gone through and tried to make themselves Arch, but with Arco has taken a left turn from when I used it. So I don't know if you've been following it or not, but they've changed all their tools from being like Arco tweak tool, Arco logout tool, whatever. They've changed all of them to Arch tweak tool. So they've tried to make all of their tools work on every version of Arch they possibly can. Vanilla, Garuda, Zero, Linux, stuff like that.
That's pretty smart.
And I do think it's pretty smart, but it dilutes what had made Arco great, because you used Arco because it gave you an installer that lets you install anything you wanted, like in a GUI fashion. Like, it was confusing as fuck, yeah, but it gave you this. But now other distros have been doing that, and they had all these tools, right? And now those things are spread out and you can use them wherever, which is, again, I think it's good, but it just kind of makes you feel like there's no good reason just to use Arco like there used to be. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that's kind of something that is really difficult to get right in the Arch world, is making making what you're doing unique, and you have to have that unique thing, and it has to be good. Like, can't you can't just be another reskin of Arch where you're just a regular Arch based distros with a few different programs and a different colored KDE panel and a wallpaper. Like, that's those type of distros used to be a thing, but not really anymore.
I'm sorry, but I'm just like, Scott just got in the chat and said clothing is bloat.
I was just as soon as you started doing it, I was trying to skim through the messages. I was like, which one is he laughing? I was wearing no clothing. I was like, oh, there we go.
That's like, come on. Like, you can't just not laugh at that. All right. Anyways, I don't. But I normally I don't have the chat right in front of me when we do the podcast. This time I do, so I'm reading it, and you guys are hilarious sometimes. All right. But anyways, one of the things you said was, like, you can't just be another Arch reskin, and I don't know if I necessarily agree with it. Like, I'm pretty lenient on letting people create whatever distro they want to create. Like, I do want them to have a reason to exist, right? But I don't need them to be like, I don't know what a good example is, but you don't have to have such a reason to exist that it's like groundbreaking. Like, you don't have to have all these amazing tools and stuff like that. And it's cool if you do have those amazing tools that you've developed and stuff like that. That's great. And
yeah.
But
you just can't expect to be popular without that unique thing.
Right, that's true. I suppose. I suppose. Good Lord. Really, seriously, we should have just taken the week off. It would have been way better. This is horrible. Anyways, the thing is, I don't mind a distribution just having a good rice. Like, if you provide just one desktop environment and it looks really nice, that's a good enough reason to exist. Again, like you say, it's not going to be popular because you've just made a distro then for yourself. Like, a lot of distros that I try on, like, for the channel or whatever, you can tell those distros were made just for the developers. Like, yes, they're sharing them with others, but they've made some really weird software choices. Like, they have 4 different video players and they have a whole bunch of development software on there. Like, you can tell that that's the stuff that the developer uses, and they've included it in ISO because that's what they want to do. Like, it was never like, they didn't set out like, I'm going to develop an Arch-based distro for everyone. No, that's not what they were set out to do. They set out to make one for themselves. Now, there's the other side of the coin where it feels like they did set out to make a distribution for everyone. So, like, Arco, Endeavor, Garuda, things like that. Those distributions were set out to make the installation of Arch easier, and then they had to differentiate themselves in other ways. So, like, Endeavor was it wasn't a spin-off, but it was a continuation of the mission goals of Antergos, right? When Antergos died, Endeavor came online. And that was, like, a lot of people really like Antergos, and it was a good distribution that was based on Arch. It was actually, I think that might have been before Manjaro, but the point is that when Endeavor tried to become what that was, which was a installer for Arch Linux that had very little fluff on top of it. They had some theming, but for the most part, it was just Arch Linux really well put together with all the dependencies and stuff that you need to go for it. With Garuda, they wanted to be flashy. You know, they have this amazing, I use quotes, amazing theme, because a lot of people don't like that candy fluorescent neon theme that Garuda has. But some people really do. They wanted to stand out. You know, that's the reason why they've chosen that. And then they added some extra stuff on top of that as well. Like, they decided to use the Zen kernel and make it for gaming, right? You know, I mean, they have all this stuff that is kind of pointed toward the gaming crowd. With Arco, they tried to, instead of creating a distribution that is meant to be used instead of Arch, they wanted to create a path towards Arch Linux. So they didn't do a very good job, in my opinion, because they made it way too confusing. But their original goal was to be able to, so you would start out with their bottom ISO, which was just an installer. Good luck. It was just an installer for Arch Linux that had some stuff on it, and you didn't get to, at least at the beginning, you didn't get to choose the desktop environments or window manager. It came with the XFCE, OpenBox, and i3. Everything on the ISO was all that. It had all this extra stuff on it. It had like 3 browsers on there and all this stuff. It was a very big ISO, right? But their goal was you'd use that, and then you'd move on to the next ISO where it was a little bit more, where you would have to build it yourself. You know, you would choose your own window manager or desktop environment. You would choose all your applications, stuff like that, and then it would install for you. And then there was a third level to that where it was even more do it yourself. And then finally you were supposed to move on to Arch, where you would install it all yourself. It was like a university is what they called it, right? It was a path. Whether or not they're still trying to do that, I don't actually know, but that was their goal. So when you talk about Arch-based distros, it makes you feel like if you're going to create an Arch-based distro nowadays, it's much more, you do have to have that special feature, right? You have to have that one, you have to have a good reason to exist. And at least when you're an Arch-based distro now, because there's an Arch install process. Now the Arch has its own installer. You can't be just the Arch-based distro that's easy to install, because that's Arch now. So, what are you guys talking about in the chat? Do I even want to know?
I hear a lot of Arco and Garuda talk, mainly talking about Garuda and people not liking its color schemes.
Yeah, well, it's not. It's very not for everybody. But let's ask this question. Let's transition into this just for a minute. I don't get why people care about the color schemes of a distro. Like, if you don't like what Ubuntu looks like I can't stand the vast majority of the Ubuntu wallpapers. I can't stand, but that would never keep me from using Ubuntu. You know what I mean? Because it's so easy to just change the wallpaper. You know, if you don't like the look of Garuda, it's KDE. You can literally do everything with it. There's nothing there stopping you. Yeah. I mean, I understand that it's that first impression, right? Like you see that look, and like, I don't really like that, so I'm gonna just bypass it. And
I think it has a lot to do with like branding. Like when it comes to like the Linux desktop, like if you're a developer for a distribution, the way that your desktop is themed and presented to users says a lot about like how you are, like how you think as a developer towards the end user. And so, you know, if you're somebody that's not into the Garuda color scheme, like you clearly know that those developers don't share your same taste in aesthetics. And if aesthetics really matter to you, then probably a safe bet to stay away from Garuda. Then again, like I know plenty of people that like die hard, love it.
Well,
and those people will keep using Garuda.
And to bring it back to the original topic, I guess if you are going to be forced to change all the themes, change the icons, reinstall all the software that you want to use because the software that was on there originally isn't the stuff that you want, then you might as well have just installed Arch in the first place. because then it's all just yours. When you install XFC on Arch, you're gonna get that vanilla Arch XFC. Look, it's from the 1980s, but if you're gonna have to do that anyways because the distro you chose has created something like Ruda has, then it would make more sense, I guess, just to install it to begin with. I mean, that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that was a interesting discussion. I thought that it would be a little bit more. I thought it would be different just because probably 6 months ago, a year ago, it would have been different because when you had to install Arch in the traditional way, then there was a something to say about whether or not you should use an Arch-based distro just because it's easier to do. That was when I used Arco, the thing that everybody asked me, like, why do you use Arco and not Arch? Well, my response was always because it was easier. Now, if I still used Arco, I couldn't use that excuse because it's not easier anymore. It's just different. I don't know. But anyways, I'm on Fedora, by the way. I'm no longer an Arch user. So also week 4 with Fedora. Yeah, I'm still here, bitches. I did, just because we got a little bit of time left. I did find my first stumbling block with Fedora, and that was gaming. It was really surprising because I thought that gaming would be actually pretty good on Fedora, but I've had some issues. So like I downloaded Dead Cells, and because it was on sale. Because hold on, before I talk about my problems, let me ask you this question and make sure I'm not alone. I'm not a gamer, right? Like, I'm really, really not a gamer. Like, you're way, way, way more of a gamer than I ever will be. Yeah. But I think that this is a thing that even non-gamers have a problem with. They see Steam having a sale, and it's like catnip. You have to buy that thing, and you end up with a Steam library of 100 games, none of which you've ever played. Yeah. Some of them you haven't even ever downloaded. Yeah. So I have so many games just never played. Like, but anyways, the point is like Dead Cells was on sale, so I downloaded it, and apparently I'm missing a dependency somewhere along the line because I did get a notification of the dependency name. I just have not been able to find it. So there's definitely some issues there with Fedora and gaming. And then I installed City Skylines, which has a native Linux port, and usually that has always been a very hit or miss game when it comes to stability. It'll always launch, but on some systems it runs perfectly fine no matter what mods you have installed. So, and some of them, and in this case on Fedora, it crashed. Like, I got loaded into a city and it almost immediately froze. Now, that's almost certainly a mod problem, but again, it's definitely one of those things where it differs from distro to distro depending on what version of Proton you're using. If you're using because sometimes it defaults to the Windows stuff. I don't even know why. It's a little weird. Also, it seems to really depend on what window manager you're using for some reason. Like, it works really well sometimes in DWM. Sometimes it doesn't work in i3. Sometimes it's the other way around. It's just a little weird. So, yeah, so gaming has not been the best experience, but I'm not a gamer, so it doesn't really bother me. I'll just continue to buy games in Steam and not play them.
Yeah, just wait till you get your Steam Deck. Then you can play them there.
We'll see. The thing is that it's not a... I mean, it is a Steam problem because I do it more often with Steam because Steam's always having sales. But when I had an Xbox, I very often went to like GameStop. Like, all right, for you kids out there, you used to be able to go to a store and buy games. Now you don't do that so much anymore. It came on these little round things that had a hole in the center. It's called a DVD. But anyways, I used to go to GameStop.
Hold on, we do have to speak of GameStop for the people who don't know. The glories of going to GameStop and then trying to trade in a game. If you never got that glorious experience, you could walk into a store, an actual store, like with people that are supposed to be decent human beings, and purchase a $60 game, walk out, come back the next day and try and give it back. And they will
give you a quarter.
No, like they'll go out back and find like a used condom and just throw that at you and tell you to shoot and run off and take the game. Like they gave you nothing in return when you gave back a game.
Like, yeah, it was like $2 or $3, and they would not take it. If I remember, they wouldn't take it if it was still sealed. Like, you had to open it up. So like, I actually to this day I still have a game up there on my shelf. I have like 7 Xbox games. That's all I have. I used to have way more, but I don't have any more. One of the games I have is Batman Arkham Asylum. I think it's the name of the game.
Yeah.
Never opened it. It's still sitting up there in the cellophane wrapping. I used to do that quite often. That's the reason why I always, after a certain point, I just like, you know, I'm gonna buy used. I will always buy a used game because, first of all, if it's already opened, I have a better chance of playing it because apparently I'm too lazy to get through the cellophane or something. I don't even know. But also, I mean, yeah, you didn't like. It was really stupid. So you would buy a game for $60, take it out, take it back to them. They'd give you $3, and then they'd sell it back to someone else, some poor schmuck, for $55. Like, seriously, this is the reason why we just gave up on the used game market all completely, because it was a fucking scam. like it was just some Ponzi scheme for some bastards to get rich off from, right? Like, it was a good idea. Like, it'd be amazing to be able to buy games used, you know, but the problem is they took so much advantage of it and made it so poor. Those were the days. It was go to the game store, pick out some games. You didn't have to wait for it to download. Yes, you had to drive there, but at least you were doing something in the meantime, right? You know, I don't know.
Well, I will say one of the most painful times in console gaming history was the between like DVD, like CDs and digital content, because you would have to go and get your disc, and then even with a disc have to download something, and then play. That was the worst. Like, that one induced serious rage in me many times. I'm like, I have the disc. What's all like?
Why do I need the disc, right? Yeah.
I remember yelling, "What the fuck is on the disc? Come on! Like, why can't I play it?"
Okay, so it reminds you. You're probably too young for this, but back in the day when there wasn't really any cable internet and you had to use dial-up, and you went to a grocery store, and this is how my family had internet for years. We never once paid for AOL. We went to the store, got one of those AOL CDs. The thing is there's not actually anything on those AOL CDs. They're just like a code for you to use. I mean, originally it had software on it, but after a while it did nothing. It just provided you with another free trial. That reminds me of those games. The problem, you're talking about that transition between the times where it was only discs and then it was downloads. The biggest problem I always had in that transition was that I always bought a console with the lowest amount of storage. And when they first made that transition, the storage in the Xbox was like 8 gigabytes. Like, it was not a lot. Yeah. Okay. And they wanted you to, and the thing is that was at about at the time where games were really like, there was a moment in time when games were really small on a DVD, right? You know, I'm talking like 4 or 5 gigabytes. And almost overnight, they transitioned into the point where like 70 gigabytes, 80 gigabytes. Now, if you download something, and you see like 110, 150 gigabytes, not surprising, because that happens all the damn time. Like, first of all,
it's wild to me how we've gotten just cool with the idea of games being anywhere from 60 to 120 gigs.
Yeah.
And also people have kind of gotten okay with the idea of spending $120 on a game. Like, what?
It's just
what?
And they pre-order it, and like the thing. Okay.
Yeah. I pay $120 before you get it. Like,
nowadays, I don't like. in the olden days when you wanted to pre-order something that you had to go actually go buy, like I understood like that because there was the idea of like, oh, we're gonna go stand in line for it, you know what I mean? Like you go to the game store at 4 o'clock in the morning to wait for it to come out, you know, even though you pre-ordered it and your spot is saved, they're not gonna sell your copy of it. You still wanted to stay in line because there's that camaraderie, right? Same thing like going to see something in the theater when it first came out, like a Star Trek or a Star Wars or something like that. Nowadays, why would you pre-order when you can just buy it right on time? It's not going to stop you. You're not going to be able to download it early. You're going to still be in the same queue as everyone else downloading it at 4 o'clock when it comes out, you know?
Yeah, digital literally defeats the entire purpose of pre-ordering.
Yeah. So don't pre-order anything. Wow, did we completely move off the topic? But that's okay. We actually had more fun with this topic. I have an Xbox now. I haven't played it in probably 7 years. It's sitting on my floor by my dresser.
Well, look, all I'm going to say is as soon as you get your Steam Deck, you won't ever fucking touch that.
I hope that's true. We'll see.
It trust me, dude, playing Resident Evil 2, the remake, just on my back in bed, like just upside down.
What I'm worried about is that the Steam Deck will exacerbate my buying of games and not playing them is what I'm worried about. Because I'm not a gamer. Like, I'm really not a gamer. I will play for a few minutes and then I'll be bored with it, right? And it really that's not a new problem. That's been a problem forever and ever. It's one of the reasons why I stopped console gaming, is because I would go months without ever playing, and then I'd come back and like, oh yeah, I want to play Madden or something like that, and I'd turn on the console. Thank God it still worked, right? Because it's been months since I turned on. But the first thing you do after you've not used a console for like 4 or 5 months, the first thing that has to happen is it has to update. And if you've ever had a console, you'll know those updates take for fucking ever. By the time it was done with the updates, I didn't want to play anymore. Like my interest in playing was completely over. So that's what I'm worried about with the Steam Deck. Not that they're going to have slow updates, but more.
I will go ahead and tell you, it is super fucking fast. I no lie, I've gotten the fastest speed off of any device on a Steam download off the Steam Deck than anything. I was getting 53 megabytes down for some game I was downloading in Steam, where off Ethernet on my desktop computer I typically get like around 24 megs down. So the download speed is double off of Wi-Fi on the device. And it plays pretty much anything you throw at it. Like I've thrown a lot at the device and it's fine with anything. Like, play Doom on it. Great. Runs fantastic.
If they give me that extension after the 3 days, I will probably buy one.
And here's the thing for you. Most likely, since you don't really play games all that often, that could just be your like, excuse me, newspaper for the bathroom. You just go in there and sit down and you play video games so you use the bathroom.
The rest of the family is like, why are you spending so much time in the bathroom? We know what you're doing in there.
Your mom just like walks by the bathroom. She's like, "You still in there?" Like playing Elden Ring. Elden Ring. Good Lord. I've clearly been up for too long.
All right. All right, let's move on to the thingies of the week. We need to move on. So every week, Tyler and I come up with things that we enjoy and we'd like to share with the rest of you. And usually these things are really good. So Tyler, your thing of the week. What do you think it is?
Steam Deck.
Oh, is it the Steam Deck? I would assume that's really good, right?
It's
a little okay. It's a little okay.
It's all right. It's okay. I mean,
so
by the way, KDE on it is really good. Like, it's really.
I'm glad that. Are you going to use that as like your computer now? Like you're gonna hook that up here?
Fuck yes. I've already done a little bit of messing around with Kden Live in it. Rendering video is not too bad. Like performance wise, it's actually kind of surprising.
So streaming from the Steam Deck when is what I'm asking.
I don't know. I'm going so hopefully before I leave the house today, I'll get my docking station and everything. But there's no guarantee. So I don't know, but I'm definitely going to be streaming from it and like messing around on the desktop and doing things on it, playing games on a bigger monitor and streaming off of it most likely is not going to happen. I highly doubt it.
Okay. Well, I'd like to see you try though. That'd be cool.
Oh, I definitely will try. Whether or not it will be successful, highly doubt it.
Okay.
It's very powerful, but it's not a, super beat.
Okay.
Still a handheld computer.
my expectations are too high. All right. Anyway, so I'm actually reusing one this week. So I know that this is going to be this is horrible and I shouldn't do this, but Crusader is my pick of the week again. So everyone knows that I'm a sucker for file managers. It's a weird fetish I have. But file managing Crusader is the best one ever, and I will fight you if you say otherwise. Like seriously, Crusader's fantastic. But the reason why I'm choosing it again this week is because, and I knew it had this feature, but I can't. I had the way my computer set up is I have like 7 hard drives in my computer, right? All of my videos are saved to a small SSD. It's 500 gigs. Eventually that thing gets full, so I have to move it to one of the bigger hard drives. With Crusader, it has a feature, and this, I mean, it's not a revolutionary feature, but the fact that it's built into a file manager is it allows you to take the things that are in one pane, so I can put the really small hard drive in that one pane and put the bigger hard drive in the other pane, and I can compare them. And then once I'm done, I can say, hey, the file structures are the same. Transfer whatever's on this drive to that drive and keep the file structures the same. And it's like diff or meld or anything like that, but it's for files, and it's really, really good. And it is a little complicated because it's a KDE project. Of course, it's freaking complicated, but it's really, really nice. So if you haven't already, and you're interested at all in messing around with file managers, try Crusader. You won't be disappointed if you like that kind of stuff. If you're just looking for a simple file manager, don't try it because it's not simple. But it's so good if you want a whole bunch of tools, whole bunch of tweaks, that kind of stuff. It's really, really nice. And I'm sure that sometime in the future, I'll use Crusader as my pick of the week again, or my thingy of the week again, because it's my favorite app on Linux. Like, bar none, Crusader is my favorite app on Linux. Like, it's not even close. So that is it for this week. Now, coming up next week, I have no clue what we're going to be talking about. I have a whole bunch of new topics in there. So, Tyler, if you want to add some topics so we can start switching back and forth again, that'd be cool. Yes. Anyway, so I don't know what we're coming up with next week, but we do record this live every Friday around 3 o'clock p.m. Eastern time. We go for about an hour and 20 minutes or so. We do bullshit for about 20 minutes before we get started. Usually we don't have to start 3 different times, but that was just an extra treat for everybody who watches this live. I swear to God, I normally hit the record button. I really do. Like, it's not something I normally forget. I've done this a lot. Like, this is like my 500th episode of a podcast. It's nuts. Anyways, the watch live, youtube.com/TheLinuxCast is where you'd find that. Tyler's is youtube.com/SandyOG. Make sure you check that out. Before I go, I should take a moment to thank my current patrons, that you can support me on Patreon at patreon.com/LinuxCast. All of these fine people support me there. Without them, the channel would just simply not exist anymore. I would have given up long ago. Seriously, these guys are fantastic. So if you support me on Patreon and YouTube, thank you so very, very much. I do appreciate it. If you want to support me there, patreon.com/LinuxCast. Thanks everybody for watching. We'll see you.